guys, morning, or afternoon or evening. Thank you for joining me for yet another episode of our program where we are just dealing with anything and everything to do with health and safety. With anything and everything to do with health and safety. My name is jasperndebele. I'm the senior partner of my consulting company called Ndebele & Partners. It's a company which I run together with a few other partners I work with, where we just specialize in occupational health and safety. Now, one of the areas of function where we operate in is where we do pro bono work of education and training, and we just enjoy equipping you as safety officers, equipping managers, CEOs of different organizations, just to help them with issues to do with managing issues to do with health and safety in their organization. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Today we're looking at, in fact, for the next coming about 20 episodes or so, I'm just looking at the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So I'm just going to go through section 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or the other way around, 15, 16, right through up to the end. So that's what we'll be looking at. And so hopefully you'll benefit a lot. So from section episode 9, right through to episode right through to about episode 27, we'll be looking at the Occupational Health and Safety Act. That's what I'll be looking at. So let's see what we can learn. Right. Section 8 of the Health and Safety Act speaks of duties of the employer. Duties of the employer. Now, there are two elements to these particular aspects. Number one, Section 8, you can look at it as a safety officer, as a safety professional, as the list of your duties as a safety professional. My apologies, I've got a small cold here. Forgive me for these sniffles here. So, as a safety officer, Section 8 is literally your list of duties. So, if you're wondering, what is my duty as a safety officer? What is my duty as a safety professional? What is expected of me as a safety professional? Just go to Section 8. You will see the whole list of things which you are expected. Why? Because these are the duties of the employer. And the employer has employed you to help him do his duties as the employer. Ngoba wena, as a safety officer, you have been employed by the employer to handle safety for them. So what are you handling safety for them? The duties of the employer. What are the duties of the employer? This is what we're looking at in Section 8. So let's just dive right into it. I will not read word for word. Get your act, open Section 8 of the Act, and I'll be highlighting and touching on different things, just ventilating, make sure we're on the same page. And as a disclaimer, I am not the end all and be all of this information. I may get it wrong here and there. If I get it wrong or there's something you don't agree with me, feel free to just say, hey, Jasper, I don't agree with you there. No, I don't think that's what the act means by this, that, or the other. And just put it there on the comments, and I'll gladly appreciate that. We all have to learn. Please feel free to share, subscribe, share it on different WhatsApp groups, these programs or these episodes, and just spread the fire. I would appreciate that. Section 8 has got two sections, 8.1 and 8.2. Section 8.1 is simple. The Act simply says it is the duty of the employer to, as far as reasonably practicable, provide and maintain a workplace which is safe and without risk. That's what the Act says. I've done it and said it so many times, it's now drilled into my head, welded into my head. Now, the most important part there I want you to understand is Section 8.1 is the aspect of without risk, where the Act says the employer has the duty to provide and maintain, as far as reasonably practicable, a workplace which is safe and without risk. Now, the aspect of without risk, I'm sure you have seen in many discussions, risk assessment. This is where the duty of the employer starts. That is why the employer is big on risk assessment, because the duty of the employer is to provide a workplace which is without risk. Now, to be able to provide a workplace which is without risk, you then do a what? A risk assessment. I've already touched on a risk assessment. I have an episode on risk assessments. Just check it out on the other episodes there. And we're going to do some more where I then look at different risk assessments for roofing, risk assessment for welding, risk assessment for this, that, and the other. I'll do quite a number of those. So just look out for those. So that's your duty, to do a risk assessment. And so it's critical as a safety officer, it's critical as an employer to make sure that you have done risk assessments for all your activities at your workplace. Very, very critical. But I would like to go to 8.2 quickly and summarize a few important things which are required in 8.2. 8.2 then says, without derogating from the responsibilities above, or without derogating from the generality of the employer's duties above, the matters to which those duties refer include in particular, the duties of the employer include this in particular. So if you're a CEO, director, factory manager, operations manager watching this, this is what is expected of you. Very, very critical. I'll just summarize there. 8.2a, provide and maintain systems of work and plant and machinery that are safe and without risks. So one of your duties is you guys, you have to provide and maintain systems of work. You have to provide and maintain machinery. Maintenance is very, very critical. Now, where there is machinery of a certain amount of kilowattage, we're going to look at it when I do an episode on the GMR2 appointee. There is supposed to be GMR2 appointee who ensures that machinery is maintained, is taken care of. But as a point, just in passing here, section 8.2a just says, guys, please maintain machinery in such a manner that it does not injure people. So maintenance is supposed to be done. Preventative maintenance, plant maintenance, shutdown maintenance, all sorts, make sure that it is done. 8.2b, taking such reasonable steps so as to eliminate and mitigate potential hazards. Your duty as a company is to eliminate and mitigate. Eliminate says totally remove. Mitigate says try to reduce. But here is an important thing which I would like to emphasize on. It says your duty as an employer under Section 8 is to mitigate and eliminate hazards before resorting to PPE, which is your last resort. Before resorting to PPE. Now, what the Act is simply saying here in Section 8.2b is that PPE is a last resort. There are some organizations available PPE. Whenever there is a job to be done, you just provide gloves, you just provide harnesses, you just provide safety shoes. That's the last resort. When a Department of Labor inspector comes through, they may request that prove to me that as a CEO of a company, as a director of a company, as a factory manager, have you done the best you can to reduce or eliminate or mitigate hazards before the PPE which you have given to the people? Very important. So you are required to do that before resorting to PPE. PPE is the last resort. But show that you tried to muffle something which was producing lots of noise. You did some maintenance. You did some oiling there for that squeaky thing. You did eliminate the hazard. You did some substituting. You did some this, that, and the other. Show that you did a few things before resorting to PPE. Very, very important. Another one, which is very, very important, 8.2e. The Act there says under duties of the employer has to provide such information, instruction, training, and supervision as may be necessary. Now, training has to be provided to employees before they start their job. They must be trained on how to use the machinery, trained on how to maintain it. Training is critical. So it's a requirement from Section 8 that training must be done. Train also first aiders, train firefighters, train she rep, train incident investigator, train a risk assessor, train. It's a legal requirement from Section 8.2e. Training must be provided. Not only training, supervision must be provided. Every employee at the workplace must be supervised. And they must be checked that they are doing what they are supposed to do. Instructions must be given. Work instructions. That's why we give people safe work procedures. Safe work procedures are not just asked for, just for fun of it, but they are a requirement from Section 8.2e. Provide training, instruction, supervision, as may be necessary. That's what the Act says. A few more points, then I'm done. F, as far as reasonably practicable, not permitting any employee to do any work or produce or process or use if precautionary measures have not been taken. So you have a right not to permit. Safety officer, you have a duty not to permit, to stop work, especially where there is a risk factor which is high. It's the duty of the employer. Employer have a duty to stop work. It's not that. That's where we are saying when we're talking about production before safety, the thing that stops production before safety is this section of the Act which says, no, we have the right to stop work, not to permit work which is unsafe to go ahead. If there is your backing. If you're a safety officer or whoever, production manager, and you're saying that, I wonder where the Act says that I can stop work or I can stop production if there is a hazard. I've given it to you there. That's section 2.B or section 8.2F. Very, very important. G speaks of taking all necessary measures to ensure that the requirements of this Act is complied with. So, guys, we have to make sure that this Act is complied with. And then lastly, the Act there says enforcing such measures as may be necessary in the interest of health and safety. The term used in the Act is enforcing. This is where disciplinary measures come through. When people don't follow procedure, when people don't do what they're supposed to do, you have to enforce the Act. Discipline people, give them warning. If a guy is not wearing earplugs and is wearing earphones and is listening to music, enforce. Hlabengen, warning. Up until you fire some, the Act has to be enforced. Those are the duties of the employer and effectively the duties of a safety officer. I hope that makes sense. I was just ventilating section 8 of the Act. Please, talk with me on the comments there. Ask questions, let's engage, share with anyone who cares to listen, and share it on your Facebook page, on any WhatsApp group. I would really appreciate that, and it encourages us to show that at least this is making sense. If you have got any training needs, first aid, firefighting, SHE-REP training, whatever, we are accredited to do the training. Just give me a shout, jasperndebele@gmail.com. Give me a shout. WhatsApp 0762733 I'll put it on the description there. Let's talk. WhatsApp me and we can do business and we can engage. I've written several books. I wrote this book here on school safety for principals. I wrote this one. I have it. If you email me, ask me, I'll send it to you free of charge. This one is a practical guide to OHS implementation. It will help you as a safety officer, as a manager, as a director. Just give me a shout and let's see how we can help each other. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me for this episode. Let's meet again on episode 10. Cheers! Yo, this flu.